a cheap market state like Montana.
Yeah.
I mean, you can buy a full media buy in Montana that'll cover all the media events in Montana for the same price as a week's buy in Philadelphia.
Sure. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So anyway, large amounts of money and that's intimidating. And even in relatively small state representative districts, in like here in Montana, you still need to be able to raise five figures or more.
Mm-hmm.
Although there are some races where there are no opponents, both Republican and Democrat, certain communities. Butte, Montana, there's districts there that there's no Republicans because Republicans haven't been born or raised in Butte since territorial days.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Because the old mining town, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so money is always an issue. But you know, one of the virtues of Montana politics, and I would venture to say that it's still true in much of the United States, that even if you are the opposing political party and you get out and you have a chance to meet people and you go to door and you go to any event and all events, if the people like you, that even though you're the other political party, they'll vote for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's very difficult to, we all know that it is very difficult to hate somebody that you know.
Yeah.
It's easy to hate someone that is, that you don't know at all, to depersonalize them. And if you get out and get amongst the people, you can, and of course, every person that goes into political life has this chromosome in that, one, yes, they'd like to serve. Yes, they may or may not have ulterior motives in that. Some of them do, some of them don't. We all know about politicians that have used politics to become wealthy. And yes, there may be a reason why so many U.S. senators are short because they have small man syndromes.
Yeah.
Okay. But the bottom line is also that they have this chromosome in them that they like to be liked.
Mm-hmm.
Or as Rush Limbaugh says, remember, politics is for people that are too ugly for Hollywood.
Okay. Rush. So let's go back to your career a little bit, and then we'll wrap on this current stuff. When you first got into politics, what was your role at that time?
Okay. Well, my first role with politics was because I had been known, and I joined various organizations and meetings, and thus I networked, to put it in a term everyone knows. I was appointed to the Montana State Board of Public Education by Montana Governor Judy Martz.
Mm-hmm.
And thus I became I had met in the Capitol, and during the sessions, I became obviously concerned and lobbying for educational issues that affected the public education of kindergarten through 12th grade students in Montana. From that, I got to meet a lot of people, and the legislators, et cetera, and governors or whatever. And, of course, one of the things that was just an accident was that I lived across the street from a governor of Montana,
Mm-hmm.
Brian Schweitzer.
Okay.
Even though he was a Democrat, I was a Republican. Before he became governor, he and I engaged in mailbox politics for years. That we talked politics and whatever, and he went on to become governor. So that name. And then when Ryan Zinke became Montana's congressman, he came to me and said, Fuller, I want you to be my Northwest Montana regional director and field operative. And I said, I don't want to. And he gave me the, I am your congressman and your country's calling you. And so I did. And then he went and got himself appointed to the Secretary of Interior, and I didn't have a job anymore. And local politicians, remember, one of the purposes of a political party and why you should become active in your political party is, one, you meet people who are players.
Mm-hmm.
Number two is that you meet people who count. And number three is their job is to recruit people that would serve the party's purpose for public office.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what happened to me. I was recruited by a state senator who said, Fuller, you need to do this. And, you know, even though I had all this experience of government and all this activity and whatever, I'd never crossed a line into saying, joining the dark side, if you will, of actually becoming a politician.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah.
I did it, and it's been rewarding. I've tried to accomplish things for the people of my district as well as the people of Montana, and hopefully I will continue to do so.
I'm going to ask the easy question to answer. Are you glad that you did it?
I am glad I did it, although it's kind of like one of those things where when you were young and your spinster aunt told you that you had to go to the opera with her because it would be good for you, and you fought it desperately, but when it was all over, hey, that wasn't so bad. It was I enjoyed it.
I ask you that because as people are listening to this show, I imagine that we're intriguing a lot of minds about, should I get involved in politics? And I think if they asked you, the answer would be yes, because we all should be involved, especially now more than ever, regardless of what party. I think that we should promote our beliefs and support however way we can, right? I mean,
absolutely. Going back to what I said at the very beginning of the show, you might not be interested in politics, but politics is interested in you. And consequently, if it's not enough just to vote, okay? Because a lot of people find out that they actually voted in ignorance. But when you get involved in the process, first thing you learn is that you do not have sole access to the truth, no matter how positive you are.
Yeah.
You do not. Secondly, you learn is that putting together a large composite of people from all walks of life and all beliefs and all economic conditions, and putting together some kind of coalition to achieve something that works for all of us is an incredibly difficult task. Incredibly difficult task. And unless you want to live under tyranny, it is a vital and necessary task that needs everyone's input.
Yeah.
So, and since I've been in the legislature, I have learned viewpoints on things. Well, I've learned some things I didn't really care to know, but I had to know.
Yeah.
But also I learned completely different perspectives that didn't necessarily affect me, but my view affected them. Consequently, you have to be amiable to accepting those. And so, once again, it's very difficult to dislike or hate someone that you actually know. And you may not trust them, but you still getting involved in the process is the answer. And getting involved in the process is not going to the street and setting fire to a trash can or a dumpster.
Darn it.
Yeah. Getting involved.
Portland, Seattle.
Yeah, Portland, Seattle. But it also leads you to understand that the Declaration of Independence points out the real purpose of government in the second sentence of the second paragraph, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, and it's referring to the previous sentence that said says that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, among them being life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That second sentence says what the purpose of government is: to protect the rights of people. To protect the rights of people. And so, if we want government that's going to protect the rights of all the people, then we have to make sure that we're all involved so that those who are only in government to protect their rights don't have their way.
Right.
Don't have their way.
Sound familiar?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Your role right now, what can you give us what a job description would look like, your role in politics?
Okay. Well, my role in politics, obviously, as a legislator, then, is to craft the legislation that, as I see it anyway, to craft legislation that enables all of the people of Montana to prosper, okay, to enjoy the fruits of their labor and to enjoy their life, liberty, and property and pursuit of happiness as they see it. Okay? So, but that is a pretty big umbrella. Okay? So, for instance, we know that government is necessary.
Yep.
We know that government needs to have provide certain services. Okay? Those services require money. Remember, governments are able to do something that anybody else goes to jail for. That is, take your property or take your money or take your liberty in the name of the common good.
Yeah.
Okay? So, if we are to have government that protects the rights of all people, then we have to somehow strike that balance that what we're doing is not injurious to anybody to an excessive amount, and that is acceptable to all groups. Okay, and you can take any issue, any issue, but certainly taxes is always a big issue. Okay. For many people, the definition of the only fair tax in the world is something that taxes everybody else but me. Okay, that's their definition of a fair tax.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but remembering that taxes is the only way that a government gets money, and in essence, what you're doing when you elect the representatives, you're electing the representatives that are going to ask your permission to take your money to do the services that they feel everyone needs the most. Okay? Now, if you want this, let's say schools, and this group of people over here decide what they really need are roads and bridges,
Mm-hmm.
well, one of the first things that economics teaches you that you can't do both to an unlimited amount. Okay, man has unlimited desires, and he has limited resources. That's called scarcity. Okay, so if we are to satisfy all those that would like all this money spent on education, as well as these people that would like all this money spent on roads and bridges and whatever, what it means is somebody's got to pay for that.
Right.
Okay, so who is going to pay for it? Okay, well, we already have, of course, throughout the nation, a tax system that progressives say is not progressive enough, and of course, other people say that is extremely onerous because we have large numbers of people being supported by small numbers of people. And I would like to point out, contrary to what many people think, in 1787, when the Constitutional began, it was a result of the fear of prominent individuals in each of the 13 states that if something wasn't done, chaos would result and freedom would be lost, because every single state had engaged in tax policies that were socialistic, and the word socialism hadn't even been invented yet.
Interesting.
All 13 states had basically exploited the minority by the majority rule.
Mm-hmm.
And the minority was not based on race, color, creed, or religion. It was based on economics. The minority were the wealthy. And the policies of these 13 states were exploiting the minority, meaning the rich. And remember that when you the majority, which are everywhere poor, has an opportunity to take away from the rich, who are everywhere few. If you do it on a straight majority rule, it's two wolves and a sheep discussing what's for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Constitutional Convention came together to reduce democracy. And by reducing democracy, it would make it feasible, consequently, and the genius is they somehow did it. They created a government that required two different majorities to do any national